Ghana has paid a $1.5 billion energy sector debt Ghana's finance ministry has announced. Now, this one goes all the way back to 2015. Remember the energy crisis Dumsor Ghana was experiencing in the first term of President Mahama? We didn't have the money to solve the problem. So we needed private sector investment in Ghana's energy sector. And nobody was willing to invest in Ghana because we were broke and had bad credit. There is no guarantee that if they give us investment or if they invest in Ghana, they are going to get their money back. So Ghana went to the World Bank and told the World Bank that you and I go way back. Can you give energy sector players a guarantee that if they invest in Ghana and they are not able to get their money back, you would pay them? And World Bank was like, of course. So World Bank gave Ghana $5 million, what we call partial risk guarantee, meaning an insurance that if Ghana doesn't pay the people who are going to invest in Ghana, World Bank would take care of it. And that opened the way for Ghana to receive $8 billion energy sector investment to do our Sankofa Gas Project to solve our electricity problems, right? But the $500 million has depleted, which means that Ghana has failed to pay the people who invested in us, so the World Bank had to step in. So what the government of Ghana is announcing is Ghana has now paid back the money the World Bank guaranteed with interest and fees, and has also paid part of the money other people have invested in Ghana. You understand? That is basically what this is about. My name is Tony. I'm a Ghanaian writer who lives in the US. On this channel, I talk about geopolitics and trade from the perspective of an African. And so, if you are interested in understanding these issues from an intellectual perspective, no agenda, subscribe to this channel. Now, let's get into the history of why we needed this money and how, and where we are right now. Let's start with why we needed this money. As you know, when Ghana started generating electricity with the Akosomo Dam, the population of Ghana was about 4 million Ghanaians, right? And so we didn't have as much energy needs as we do today. So it was enough. But as time went on, our energy demand went higher, and so we needed more ways to generate and supply electricity to our populace. And so from 1982, ECOWAS started a conversation around the West Africa gas pipeline, and on and off, all the way till 2005 under President Kufuor, Ghana finally signed a deal with Nigeria to receive energy supply from Nigeria directly through Lagos and through Togo and Benin to Ghana. And fun fact, you know the road in Accra called Olusegun Obasanjo Way? It is called Obasanjo after the president of Nigeria who signed the deal with Ghana at the time, because Ghana really needed the gas from Nigeria. And their president made it possible. So, of course, you're going to need a road after him. That is also why there is a road in Ghana named after President Bush of America. Ghana needed the Millennium account thingy, and then Bush supplied it. So, yeah, sometimes you have to add some superficial gestures to get big things from big men. You understand that? Good. And so I just wanted to chip that in as a fun fact. And actually, the reason I'm even bringing this up is I remember during the year of return in 2019, I had some friends visiting me in Ghana from Nigeria. And when we were driving around Jowolu, they were like, there is a road named in Ghana after Obasanjo. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, Obasanjo? Why? And I said, I'm sure there's a road in Nigeria named after President Nkrumah. And it was like, and the lady, my friend Chichi, was like, Obasanjo and Nkrumah are not the same. Nkrumah is an African hero. Why is there a road named after Obasanjo? Obasanjo is one African hero. And so I had to explain to her that, well, Ghana needed gas from Nigeria. And we needed Nigeria to supply the gas at a price better than the world price. And Nigeria did that. And it was President Obasanjo who signed the deal. And so he is a hero in Ghana because of that. All right, good. Now let's move on to the more important thing. So so the gas pipeline was supposed to start supplying gas to Ghana in 2008, but there was a murder of a contractor who was working on this project in 2008. So it delayed until 2011. If you are somebody who knows history, you know that officially the West Africa Gas Pipeline started supplying to Ghana in 2008, but it wasn't in commercial quantity. It was just enough for the president of Ghana to tell the world that we have started receiving the gas because I signed this deal. Kufuor needed it for campaign. But the commercial quantity started coming to Ghana in 2011. Another problem came up. In 2012, there were some pirates who were running away from the Nigerian Navy. Pirate is somebody who has committed a crime on waters, on the sea. And so the Nigerian Navy was trying to catch them, and they were running away on their ship. And then in their ability to run away from the Nigerian Navy, they hit where the West Africa Gas Pipeline supply passes. So the ship hook hit the gas pipeline and then it broke. So for a year, Ghana was not receiving the gas we needed from Nigeria. And that is the beginning of our energy woes. And that is why in the 4 years after Mahama became president, I think in the 4 years of his presidency, Ghana experienced some of the worst energy crises we've ever experienced as a country. Now, I know this history, and I know that Mahama is not the reason why Dumsor was happening, but I still blamed Mahama. You know why? Why do you have negative aura? Why is bad luck happening under your presidency? You understand? So I am an intellectual, I know the right thing, but sometimes I will do gutter argument. But on this channel, I don't do gutter argument. I only do gutter argument when I'm with my friends. This is intellectual conversation. So from 2012, even though we started receiving the gas pipeline from Nigeria again, it became a problem because now Nigeria was charging us even more money to, supply the gas, new president, and all that. So our energy crisis was the beginning. But other factors started coming in, and then it kept getting worse. They're saying that when it rains, it pours. Yeah, when one issue comes, a lot of other issues pops up. So Ghana needed ways to solve our energy crisis, starting with a gas supply. Now, we need to be able to supply gas to ourselves because, luckily for us, we found oil in commercial quantity. And so we started a Sankofa Gas Project. But to finance the Sankofa Gas Project, we needed money, about $8 billion. But Ghana, at this point, as you know, had bad credit. Nobody trusts us. We, in the past, refused to pay people who were owing money. And the only person who would deal with us was the World Bank, because World Bank, have a history with countries. So if countries are not doing the right thing, World Bank knows how to handle it. So the World Bank gave us the partial risk guarantee of $500 million. And based on that guarantee, the private sector was willing to invest in Ghana's energy supply, which is why we started receiving the gas from our own Cape 3 Point. So we had an Italian company, ENI, a Dutch company, Vitol, come in to, work on the Sankofa Gas Project. And banks, private banks, these companies will also get loans from banks to work on the project. So if we don't pay these companies, they can't pay their bankers, it's a chain. The whole world runs on debt. Let's remember that. And so that happened, and now, when it was time to pay these countries or these companies, we did not. That is why the finance ministry is saying that the money that the World Bank guaranteed has depleted, which means that at some point, Ghana failed to pay these companies, so these companies had to go to the World Bank, and the World Bank had to pay them. But the moment your money is depleted with the World Bank, you cannot even get more loans anymore from this company or more investment from these companies. So Ghana now paying the money back to the World Bank with the interest and fees. Remember, I said the World Bank guaranteed $500 million, but Ghana paid almost $600 million is because of the fees and interest. You know how loans work or how insurance charges work. And so now that part is settled with. Now, these companies, we also still owe them money. So Ghana paid ENI and Vitol $480 million, also sorted. And then there's another thing called independent power producers. ECG is not the only company that generates power for Ghana. There are so many other players like Car Power and other companies that Ghana, do business with in the energy sector. So Ghana also paid these companies, these independent power producers. And then that is why all the money went all the way to almost $1.5 billion. That is the story of how we came to owe that money. And now, why does paying that money matters? Now, paying that money put us in a better credit, position. Like I said, the whole world runs on debt. So we are going to need loans from other countries and companies in future. We are going to need investment in sectors like the energy sector even in future. So if you have good credit, you get better loan terms. Even I think that even in the press release that the finance ministry put out, they mentioned that Ghana has even renegotiated some of these deals we have with those companies. Because you have better credit now, we can get better terms even on our past loans. You understand that? Good. And that is why it's important, and that affects even electricity supply and everything. At some point, hopefully, the cost of electricity can come down. As it stands now, our energy sector is not stable yet. We don't have a country where you are guaranteed 100% power supply 24/7 every 365 days of the year. But with moves like this, Ghana can get to a point where we can have 100% energy supply, like I do in the US, right? Of course, sometimes something can happen, but usually when lights goes off in Texas where I stay is because of the weather, almost all the time. So that is basically where we are. Things are getting better. In future, we'll talk more about if things are getting better, why is the cost of living in Ghana still high? I wanted to talk about that last week. I couldn't get to it because of the Kenoforiata incident. And I hope this week I'm able to talk about that. And I also hope that I talk about other related issues in the, finance sector. All right. Talk to you later. And as you know, this channel, we are about facts and intellectual conversation. So subscribe if you want to know the issues beyond the partisan lane. All right.